Harvest Moon, or Story of Seasons as it's called in the Western world now, has always been one of my absolute favorite video game series of all time. And like most fans of the series, A Wonderful Life is in my top tier of the games. And not just from this franchise, but from any franchise of all time. I clocked probably way too many hours into that game while growing up, and so now it's like an old nostalgic comfort that I always run back to. So when the remake was announced during the most recent Nintendo Direct, I actually started to cry a little bit. So with all that excitement just bursting from my seams, I began compiling a list of things I would love to see incorporated into the game. So let's get into it. Now, to start us off, obviously same-sex marriage is a necessity and has been in previous installments. So of course I want that in the game. However, that's already been confirmed by the developers as a feature, as well as being non-binary. So let's get into the unconfirmed hopes and dreams. A few smaller details that are very likely to make it to the game all revolve around customization. Whether it be alternate skin tones, the interior of your farmhouse, the exterior and decor around your farmland, and of course customizable clothing. There's no clothing store in the original game and there likely won't be one added to this remake, but imagine this scenario. You walk into the mansion and uncover Sebastian's secret knack for sewing and or knitting. And once you befriend him, you unlock the ability to commission clothes from him, so long as you provide the materials necessary. Additions such as this one would be so fun and push the player to explore the valley and everything that it has to offer. Another hope that I have kind of ties into my previous one. Do more with the characters, and not just the romanceable ones. Like, imagine witnessing an outing between Galen and Nina, where they're all sweet and mushy together. The event would obviously take place before she dies, so it would allow the player to feel their feelings much harder in regards to her passing. And please, give us an initial expansion on the excavation site. It always felt way too small in the original game, even when it was at its maximum size. So making it large to begin with and then growing upon that base would make visiting the dig site much more worth it, especially since it's non-resettable and can only be explored once per day. Maybe that'll change in this remake too. I would also love it if Marlin or Matthew grew his mullet back as the years went by. It would be a funny little detail that I think fans of the original would appreciate a lot. Another quality of life adjustment that is needed is that Van does not announce his arrivals or departures anymore. Or that we can just skip them with an easy press of a button. Please. And I mean please, let us choose the gender of our baby like you could in the PS2 edition of the game. I think that's probably the main reason why people bought that version. I would also love an expansion on the valley as a whole, whether it's more locations, characters, farm animals, pets, anything and everything. I mean, wouldn't it be cool if, like in Harvest Moon DS and Cute, the Mineral Town characters came down to the valley to visit? Even if it's rare, or even if it's locked behind a paid DLC. I, for one, would adore the feature, especially if it allowed you to romance them. Which, that's another thing. We need a variety of marriage candidates, because the original games were seriously lacking. Mainly with the guys. And with more marriage candidates, that would mean more possibilities for hard events, and of course rival events. We need rival events, and maybe even rival marriages? Please? With how this game is built, it would be so cool to have the rival pairings progress and eventually get married and have kids of their own as the years go by. Even if it requires befriending people and doing this or that, it would make the game feel all the more realistic and add to the list of things to do. Now, I personally always hated how short the seasons were, and would love it if they were doubled or even tripled from the original 10 days per season. More days in a year would also make room for more festivals, which were sorely lacking in the original. From animal festivals, cooking ones, Halloween, White Day, Christmas, all of these are things that need to come to the game. It would be so much fun to experience holidays like Halloween or Christmas differently through the years with your kid. I also really want marriage to not be required in the first year. I always felt rushed, and it was always just way too easy to woo your partner in the original. So I'm hoping that this remake solves that issue. Speaking of romance being too easy, I really want a dating system. It would again make the game feel much more realistic and all the more heart-wrenching when your character passes away at the end. But to go along with that, and this might sound weird, but hear me out because I love drama, it would be so funny if they added a cheating option. Kind of like Stardew Valley, where if you're dating multiple people at a time, they'll eventually find out and dump you. So you won't be able to hit them up for a year or so. But even then, the difficulty is increased as you have to prove yourself and win them back. You can't get off that easy. And please, just let us finally open the Unlockable Shed. That thing has always been a mystery to me and so many others. Back in the day, I remember hearing about some urban legend that the shed would stay locked until your final day alive in the game. It was only then that you could unlock it and see your father's old photo albums and journals, reading about the life he led here and how he always hoped you would take over the farm one day. Now, that obviously wasn't true, hence the title of Urban Legend, but imagine them actually adding that to this version of the game. I would be so happy. And then to take that one step further, imagine an optional Afterlife version of the game where once your character dies, you can continue playing as long as you want, but without any more unlockable events or aging. And with this end-of-life mode in a sort of trophy type of way, you can access the shed whenever you want, but this time, along with your father's things, you have your own photo album and journal that are special to your playthrough and the things that you did in your own wonderful life. What are some things that you would like to see in the remake? Let me know in the comments below. Whether it's realistic or not, it's still fun to dream, especially when you have been waiting for this for what feels like forever. Thank you for watching, and here's to a release date hopefully soon.